Hey guys, this is Mrs. Klein. I'm here to begin your first podcast for our unit on the Americas. We're going to be beginning a study of Lesson 26, all about the Maya. As always, there is a guiding question that goes along with this lesson. And the guiding question this time is, what led to the rise, flourishing, and fall of the Maya civilization? In addition to the guiding question, we've got some vocabulary terms that you're going to want to be familiar with that go along with Lesson 26. They are ceremonial center, hieroglyphic, Maya, Mesoamerica, ritual, sacrifice, slash and burn agriculture, and social pyramid. If you'd like to be following along, you can have your history book open. Lesson 26 begins on page 371. All right, you guys, here we go. A little bit from the introduction. The Maya civilization, which lasted about 3,500 years from about 2000 BCE to 1500 CE, included lands located in present-day southern Mexico and large portions of Central America. In this lesson, you will trace the development of Maya civilization and some of its most important achievements. You will also take a closer look at several aspects of Maya culture, including class structure, family life, religious beliefs and practices, and agricultural techniques. All right, you guys, let's get into section 1, which is the development of Maya civilization. Maya civilization reached its height between 200 and 900 CE. During this time, Maya culture spread over a great deal of Mesoamerica, including part of present-day southern Mexico, Belize, most of Guatemala, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. The Maya built their civilization in part on ideas that they inherited from a people called the Olmecs, who lived in the jungle areas on the east coast of Mexico. Farming allowed the Olmecs to create permanent settlements, and the Olmecs established farming villages throughout the region and created trade routes that stretched for hundreds of miles. By 1400 BCE, the Olmecs had a capital city that boasted palaces, temples, and monuments. They were the first Mesoamericans to develop large religious and ceremonial centers, as well as the first to use a solar calendar or a calendar based on the cycles of the sun. All right, now we'll find out a little bit. Maya civilization is broken up into 3 different parts, you guys. Historians divide the history of Maya civilization into 3 main periods: pre-classic, classic, and post-classic. The long pre-classic period lasted from about 2000 BCE to 200 CE. During this time, the Maya farmed the land and lived in simple houses and compounds or groups of buildings. Possibly as early as 300 BCE, they began to adapt the writing system of the Olmecs and to develop their own system of hieroglyphic writing. During the classic period, the Maya adapted and developed other ideas they had learned from the Olmecs. For example, they improved on Olmec building techniques. Maya society during the classic period consisted of many independent states. At its height, the Maya Empire included more than 50 cities, including Tikal, Copan, Chichen Itza, and Palenque. Around 900 CE, the classic civilization collapsed. The Maya abandoned their cities in the southern lowland area. To this day, no one knows for certain why this happened. To the north on the Yucatan Peninsula, Maya cities continued to prosper during the post-classic period. This period lasted from about 900 CE to 1500 CE. Now we'll find out a little bit about how the Maya, how their society was structured. Within each Maya city-state, society was structured like a pyramid. The ruler of each city-state was at the top of this social pyramid, while the rest of the members of Maya society were organized into a series of ranks below the ruler. The Maya ruler was considered a god king. The next layer in the social pyramid was made up of nobles and priests. The nobles served as scribes and officials and oversaw the administration of the states. Priests were important because it was their job to maintain favor with the gods. Like nobles, priests inherited their position from their fathers. Priests led rituals and offered sacrifices and foretold the future. The Maya were accomplished traders, traveling by sea, river, and well-constructed roads to trade with other cities. So the merchants and the artisans, you guys, they're the group that come next. Maya artisans made a wide variety of objects, many of them designed to pay tribute to the gods. Next come the peasants. The peasants were the backbone of Maya society. When they were not farming, peasants had to spend time building pyramids and temples, and peasants also served as soldiers during wars and paid taxes to the nobles. And now at the bottom of the social pyramid were the slaves, who performed manual labor for their owners. While some were born into slavery, free people sometimes became slaves. For instance, you guys, a parent might sell their child to feed the rest of the family, or a person who committed a serious crime might be enslaved as punishment. Once captured, war prisoners of humble origin were also enslaved. But it's important for you to realize, you guys, that in general, the Maya actually did not mistreat the slaves. Next, we're going to find out a little bit about family life. Life for the Maya peasant families was not easy. Maya women cleaned the corn that had been boiled and left to soak and soften overnight. Then she set to work at the grinding stone, pounding corn into meal, and with that, you guys, they made tortillas out of that. During the day, women and older girls cared for small children and for the family's few animals like ducks and turkeys. They swept their homes and they gathered, spun, and wove cotton into cloth. Maya fathers and sons ate their morning meal quickly before leaving to work in the fields. When they were not busy with the crops, men and boys hunted and trapped animals. All right, some special occasions and how they're marked. The birth of a child was a time for rejoicing, and as soon as possible after the birth, the family called in a priest to perform a ceremony much like a baptism. At 3 months of age, girls went through another ceremony. In the 3-month ceremony, the baby girl was introduced to the tools she would use throughout her life. Small items were placed in the baby's hands, such as tools for spinning and weaving, carrying water and cooking, and soaking and grinding maize. A similar ceremony was held for boys at 4 months of age. The baby boy was given farmer's tools, such as axes and planting sticks, and the spears, knives, and traps of a hunter. Another important event in every Maya child's life was the coming of age ceremony. And then the next big moment in the life of a Maya youth was marriage. Marriages were negotiated by the village matchmaker, you guys. Take it away, Mr. Creighton.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Klein. So I'm taking over for section 4 for the Maya, which is religious beliefs and practices. This is page 378 and 379. Religion was very important to the Maya, who built their cities around religious and ceremonial centers. Their magnificent temple pyramids rose high above the jungle canopy like mountains reaching into the sky. The Maya religion was polytheistic, which means it included many gods. The Maya believed in more than 160 gods, but the primary Maya gods were forces or objects in nature that affected people's daily lives, such as rain, corn, and death. The Maya believed that the gods had created the world and could influence or even destroy it. The same God that sent life-giving rain could also ruin the crops with hailstones. According to Mayan beliefs, only priests could explain divine signs and lead people through rituals aimed at pleasing the gods. Priests performed sacrifices and conducted ceremonies. The Maya honored their gods with offerings such as plants, food, flowers, feathers, jade, and shells. The Maya believed that blood gave the gods strength, so they also made blood offerings by sacrificing animals and, sometimes, humans. Human sacrifice also played a role in an ancient Maya game called Pokotok. Scholars believe that the game was played between 2 teams of nobles who tried to hit a solid rubber ball through a stone ring by using their leather padded elbows, wrists, and hips. Surviving art from the ball courts show members of the losing team being sacrificed and the captain of the defeated team being beheaded. Alright guys, looking at the sacred calendar. The Maya used their knowledge of mathematics and astronomy to develop a complex calendar system. There are 2 calendars. The first was a daily calendar based on the solar, sun, year. The second calendar was the sacred or ritual calendar called the Talsin King, or sacred round. Only priests could read the hidden meaning of the sacred round. Priests used the sacred calendar to determine the best days to plant, hunt, cure, do battle, and perform religious ceremonies. Like Maya art and architecture, The calendar system reflects a highly advanced civilization. This high level of civilization was possible due to the ability of the Maya to create a stable food source. All right, looking at section 5, agricultural techniques. The Maya were creative, skillful farmers and used their knowledge of calendars and seasonal change to help them become even better at growing food. The primary Maya food was maize or corn. Other typical crops were beans, squash, and chili peppers. One of the most difficult challenges the Maya faced was how to grow enough food to feed their growing population. Farming was difficult in the regions where they lived due to dense forests, little surface water, such as lakes or streams, and poor soil. In the mountainous highlands, they built terraces or flat earthen steps into the hills to make more land available for planting. In the swampy lowlands, the Maya constructed raised earth platforms surrounded by canals that drained off extra rainwater. A different technique was used in the densely forested lowland areas. In city-states like Palenque, in present-day Mexico, the Maya used slash and burn agriculture. First, they cleared the land by cutting and burning plants and trees, and then they planted their crops. Unfortunately, this type of farming wears out the soil. As populations increased, the Maya had trouble raising enough food to feed everyone. For about 600 years, the great cities of the southern lowlands thrived. Then, around 750 CE, the civilization that supported these centers fell apart. By 900 CE, the Maya had abandoned their large cities to the jungles. The collapse of classic Maya civilization is one of the great mysteries of Mesoamerican history, and many theories have been offered to explain what happens. Some historians believe that the populations of the cities grew faster than the Maya farming systems could sustain them. Another possible cause of the Maya's downfall was uncontrollable warfare. A final possibility is that invaders from central Mexico helped to destroy the Maya city-states. Although the great Maya cities are ruins today, Maya culture lives on. About 2 million Mayas still live in the southern Mexico state of Chiapas, with millions more spread throughout the Yucatan Peninsula and in the cities and rural farming communities of Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. All right, lesson summary. In this lesson, you read about the Maya civilization, which existed in what is now Mexico and Central America, between about 2000 BCE and 1500 CE. The development of Maya civilization. The Maya's greatest achievements came in the Classic period between 200 and 900 CE. With a writing system and building techniques adopted from the earlier Olmecs, the Maya built complex stone cities. At its height, the empire consisted of more than 40 city-states and covered much of Central America. Class structure and family life. Maya society was a social pyramid with the ruler at the top. Most Maya were peasants. Women and girls cared for small children, kept house, and cooked meals. Men and boys worked in the fields or hunted. Maya girls celebrated reaching adulthood at 12. Boys did so at 14. Marriages were arranged by a matchmaker. Religious beliefs and practices. Maya religion was polytheistic. The gods were forces of nature who could influence or destroy the world. Only priests could understand divine signs and read the sacred calendar, and no decisions were made without first consulting the gods. Agricultural techniques. Farming techniques such as terraces, slash and burn agriculture, and raised earth platforms allowed the Maya to create a stable food supply. All right, looking at the guiding question, what led to the rise, flourishing, and fall of the Maya civilization, and a quick review of the vocabulary. Ceremonial center, hieroglyph, Maya, Mesoamerica, ritual, sacrifice, slash and burn agriculture, and social pyramid.
Bon voyage.